Welcome to the Hope Athletics Orange and Blue podcast. My name is Alan Babbitt, Sports Information Director here at Hope College. And this summer, I've had the privilege to talk with some of the special people on our campus who either exemplify or support our pursuit of academic success, competitive excellence, and transformational experience. Today, we're going to dive in with two remarkable people who are living that quest right now. Senior swimmer Delaney Wesolek and head women's and men's swimming and diving coach Jake Tabor. Welcome to the Orange and Blue podcast, Delaney and Jake.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Alan. Great to be here.
Over the last 3 years, Delaney and Jake have helped the Flying Dutch win 3 consecutive NCAA championships and compete at both NCAA championships that were held in that time. And last March, Delaney swam on relays at nationals in Greensboro, North Carolina, where Hope finished 10th in the nation, the best finish in program history since 2004. And then in April, Delaney was named our female recipient of the Be Strong, Be True Athlete of the Year award. That's presented to a junior or senior that demonstrates the true essence of being a student athlete and embodies the Division III motto of discover, develop, and dedicate. And this student athlete has to be in high academic standing with a minimum GPA of 3.5, have to play a significant role on the team, and is involved with Hope and the Greater Holland community. Earlier this summer, we chatted with the male recipient of this honor, Dan Romano, running back on the football team, who after graduation has begun his career as an engineer at the Gentex Corporation. Delaney is getting closer to graduating. This fall, she begins her senior year at Hope. And when she's not in training or competing in the pool for the Flying Dutch, she's pursuing a major in nursing. Delaney, I'll start with you. Being chosen as the recipient of this Be Strong, Be True Athlete of the honor. What did that award mean to you, and what does the award in general mean to you?
Yes, well, it means so much to me. I was shocked, very surprised to receive this award, but at the same time, I was so grateful to be nominated. So thank you, Tabor, for nominating me for this award. But I was just super thankful to be nominated, to have my name up there next to Jenna, Ella, and Delaney. I think the world of those girls, and I just so appreciative of the fact that I was nominated for this award. And it was such a special night. I felt very just happy to represent my team up there at the Hopies, but also very happy because my family was also there that night. And so to have them there on that night and to represent my team, it made it a very special moment. That means so much to me.
Jake, in your mind, what made Delaney stand out to be not only the winner of this award, but a nominee with some of the, terrific nominees that she mentioned? What made Delaney stand out in your mind for this particular honor?
For me, it's funny to hear Delaney say how shocked she was. I wasn't. And I think that's, has everything to do with Delaney and, the experience that, we and our coaching staff have had working with her every day for the last 3 years. And she does it all. She embodies what the student athlete here at Hope, is. I mean, a Christian student athlete. She's involved in her community. She continues to excel at a very high level. She's, gets it done in the pool, on campus, in the community. And, she isn't just involved in these things. I mean, she's got leadership roles, and she has tremendously high impact in everything that she's involved with. And, when you look at what we're about, from a student athlete standpoint here at Hope College, I can't think of a better representative than Delaney.
Delaney, in the pool, we'll start with the team success. A great season this past season, as we mentioned earlier, third in a row of MIAA titles, and then going back to nationals and getting 10th in the nation, a really high finish. What did that, as you reflect upon that season and the journey? Swimming is a very long season with training in early to mid-September all the way up until, if you're fortunate to be competing in nationals in mid-March. As a whole, what did last season mean to you and your teammates?
To start, I would just say I'm so proud of my team, and I feel so lucky to be surrounded by such amazing ladies that are hard workers, and I just feel very blessed to be a part of this team. we always start our season by having a big team meeting and we make team goals for the season. And one that's been consistent the past 3 years is we all want to be on top of that podium on Saturday night at the end of leagues and just celebrating that win. And so to be able to actually reach that goal and celebrate that moment was just it was just amazing and just it was awesome. And I'm so thankful that I was able to do it with my team. And looking at nationals, I feel very grateful to be a part of the group that was down in Greensboro. When I was being recruited here at Hope, that's something that Tabor talked to us about was the fact that he wants to make this a top 10 program. And so to actually be a part of that group that was down there and was able to do that and hearing them announce Hope College 10th place was just a moment I will never forget. And I'm just so proud of the team and just really happy to be a part of Hope Swim and Dive.
She talked about, Jake, the team meeting and a goal to get to the top 10 in the nation is hard. It's there's a lot of great swimmers at the Division III level, and a lot of great student athletes. What in your mind allowed this team to be able to rise to that level of status in the NCAA Division III?
Well, that's one of those things that doesn't happen by accident, right? You need to do a lot of things right. You need to catch a lot of breaks. A lot of things need to go your way, but you also need to have great leadership, and we did. And it's interesting to be on the other side of the conversation here, and talk about or to listen to Delaney talk about the recruiting process and some of the things that we kind of set out as goals and vision for program successes moving forward. And it this has been a process, and Delaney's been a part of it, that journey and that climb, and we don't get to where we are right now without her. So I think it's that consistency and work ethic that she brings each and every day. I think it's that accountability not only to herself and herself during the season away from the pool, but also in the off season. I think she's the type of person that's not ever going to ask a teammate to do something that she wouldn't do herself. And I think her teammate understands that and respects that, and I think is motivated by that. And when we kind of have a season come together the way that that it did last year, and for us to go out and finish the way that we did down at the NCAA championships, I think so much of that is a testament to the vision and all the little things kind of lining up, and not just in one season, but over the course of the last few seasons. And Delaney's had an awful lot to do with that.
Delaney, you were a captain for this year's team. What have you learned about leadership and being in that role, which is critical role for a team's success? What have you learned, and what have you studied to try to be the best leader that you can be?
I oh, let me think. That's a good question. I've been very grateful to be in a leadership position on my team the past few years, and I've been able to grow so much, especially coming in as a sophomore and being put in a leadership position as a sophomore. Um, I was able to just learn so much about what makes a team work, and especially a big part of that is just listening to your teammates and being a good friend and being present for your people around you. And I would say that that's something that I tried to really work on is making sure that I'm making connections with every single lady on the team and making sure that I'm there for them and can be a friend and like practice being a 5-minute friend if you need it, if I'm here for you. And so by taking that and making these relationships with the amazing gals on my team, I feel like that's really helped me learn to grow as a leader and hear what the team needs and meet those needs and help the team get to where we set our goals.
Delaney, are those relationships perhaps the best part of being part of a team? I know there's, the achievement and, what you're striving and when maybe you realize a goal, but talking to student athletes like you, just being a part of that team and those relationships and how you, go through a season together, probably in the end means as much, if not more, than any of the single accomplishment you might have individually or collectively.
Yes, for sure. Like you said before, we have a season that never really feels like it ends. It is a very long season, and our team we're constantly together. And I feel so blessed to be surrounded by such hardworking ladies. Like, I, they're my best friends, and that is one thing from swimming that I love the sport, but I feel like the relationships and friendships and just family that I've been able to create through swimming has just been something I'll just take with me for the rest of my life. So very thankful for that.
Jake, I know swimmers in general are, when you get to college, you're familiar with a long season and that training process that's a little bit unique in that, because there's just so many hours in the pool. What have you focused on as far as being intentional and building those relationships amid a team to help a team have sustained success, and, constantly being able to cheer on and push each other?
Alan, I don't think that's an exact science, across the board. I think we've got a lot of different personalities on the team. We've got what I feel like is a really healthy dynamic. I think Delaney would, attest to that as well. But I think what we're really trying to do is invest in people on the team as human beings, and to do that first. We'll talk a little bit about how swimming really is the thing that has brought us all together, and it's really what we have in common. But our biggest work here over the course of the 4 years that people are in school, is to challenge them to be better and more well equipped to go out and positively impact the world when they graduate. And what that looks like for one person compared to the person that's going before or after them in the lane, might be a very different path. And I think when we have the ability to sit down and get to know people throughout the recruiting process, and then once they arrive and step foot on campus, and really get a sense as to who they are and what they're about, but then also understanding where they want to go and what their goals and objectives are beyond the pool, it makes it a lot easier to kind of tie in everything at the pool as well. And that's a balance that I think, I suppose like any coach, you do better with some than others, but that at least becomes the objective for us.
Delaney, when did swimming become your sport? Was it early on? I mean, when did you start, in the pool and then competing competitively? And then there's a transition, I think, in a young person's life where it goes from one of the sports to you do to the one you really want to focus on. Take us through that, process and how swimming became a passion in your life.
Yes. So when I was little, I definitely struggled to find my thing. My first love was basketball. I come from like a basketball family. Um, but I wanted to find something else to do alongside basketball. And so I tried volleyball, I tried soccer, I even tried competitive dance, and they were not my thing. I was definitely struggling to find my thing. And then it wasn't until I was 10 years old. I was watching the 2012 London Olympics, and thank goodness swimming was on that night. I was watching Missy Franklin just look like she was having the time of her life. And I was like, this looks like so much fun. I remember turning to my parents and being like, hey, like, can I do this? Like, that looks like so much fun. And then a few weeks later, they signed me up at our local swim club and threw me in the pool, not knowing anything about swim. And I haven't stopped swimming since. I fell in love with this sport. It became like my happy place. Like my dad always says that like swim is like my meditation in a way. Like I'll be having a bad day, I'll go to practice and I'll like leave practice a totally different person, just feeling super happy. Just it's definitely somewhere where I find peace and joy, especially in the process and practice. And then when it came time to decide if I wanted to swim in college, I decided to focus on swim and stop playing basketball at the end of my sophomore year. And so I just focused on swim for a while and was super excited to come to Hope and check out what Hope was. And luckily, it all worked out, especially with being a nursing student and swimming as well. That was something that, as I looked other places, was kind of unheard of. But whenever I came and talked to Tabor, he was like, we can do this. Like, we will make it work. And that's definitely been true. And I'm very grateful for that as I've balanced both nursing and swim here at Hope.
I should mention, shout out to Bay City, where you're from, and right, John Glenn High School, if I am I remembering correctly. Got a
Yes.
shout out to
Yes.
John Glenn as well. Jake, Delaney as a competitor, how would you describe her? And is there a race that comes to mind when you think about her? Just what first comes to your mind when you think about Delaney in the pool in a meet?
Um, yeah, I think there are probably two that come to mind more than any other. Delaney, I don't know if you know what's coming right now, but
She's smiling,
yeah,
so I'm looking
you know,
forward to this.
I mean, we've got a laundry list to choose from here, right? I mean, she's
We
been an
do.
A finalist at our MIAA championships and 5 different individual events. You know, she's all over our all-time top 10. She's, you know, an MIAA record holder. I mean, she's, you know, a national qualifier, you know, but I think the two that kind of jump out to me, you know, the first one is, you know, her freshman year, we we had some more, you know, an orange and blue inter squad, and you know, we had the captains write the lineup, and you know, Delaney was a little bit of an unknown, and you know, we were swimming some off distances and just trying to have some fun, and they put her in, you know, in the butterfly event, and it well, let's just say we were pretty sure that Delaney was a freestyler or backstroker, and you know, and that kind of, you know, confirmed that on the coaching side of things. But no, I think for me, really the one that stands out more than any other, you know, when you talk about Delaney just being a fierce competitor and stepping up onto the block and owning every opportunity she has, would be her sophomore year on Thursday night of the MIAA championships when she anchored the 400 medley relay. Fantastic split for her, but you know, it was more than that. You know, it was going into that race, knowing that relay has a chance to qualify for the NCAA championships. That relay has a chance to win an MIAA title. Also, in that event, you know, there were 2 other relays that had a chance to do the same thing. And you know, when Delaney stepped up to anchor that medley relay, you know, we were in a great spot, and she was just so clutch closing it out. And you know, school record, MIAA record, you know, national qualifying time. It was really special, and to me, you know, that's just one of those that that I think I'll always be able to hold on to, because she hit the water and took off, and you know, I think Jolly and I just kind of took a deep breath and, you know, and smiled, you know, because Delaney was there and she had it covered, so it was great.
Delaney, I mean, part of sport is pressure. You know, you're
Mhm.
trying to do your best, and in a moment, sometimes pressure can be overwhelming, and then sometimes it seems like it's not in there. What have you learned about managing your own mind and not getting in your way? Because that's can be a big part of sports. You sometimes we just get on our own way instead of just enjoying the moment. What have you learned about kind of navigating that, and so that you can have your best performance?
Mhm. I would say I definitely, maybe this sounds a little surprise like off, but I would say that I kind of love like working under pressure. Like I love anchoring relays. That's one of the things I definitely enjoy, but something that helps me perform the way I want to under those moments of pressure would be just trusting the fact that, like, I prepared for this moment and that my coaches have prepared me for this moment, and I've put the work in, and now, I have this sticker on the back of my phone, and it says it's handled, like, God is saying it's handled, and I remember a moment my freshman year, I went up and asked Tabor for feedback or some, like, advice before I swam at leagues, and he just said, "Look at the back of your phone, like, it's handled, like, God has got you, and you've worked for this moment," and just really leaning into that and finding peace in the fact that my coaches and my teammates have helped me prepare for this moment and that I'm ready, and just really trusting that idea.
Obviously, swimming is part of your identity here at Hope, but you're also a nursing student, which is equally demanding a major as well. Where did you realize nursing is what you had a calling for?
I realized at a young age that I wanted to be a nurse and go into nursing. I'm very close with my grandparents, and they were in and out of the hospital a lot when I was little, so I was constantly visiting the hospital. But especially when I was in 8th grade, I realized that I wanted to go into nursing. And I think this was the case because my grandpa got very sick that year. And so, as we were navigating um, doctor's appointments and going to different hospitals and going down to Henry Ford, one thing that was consistent throughout that whole process was the care and compassion that the nurses provided, not only for my grandpa, but for my family as a whole, and just feeling their impact and their love and their care during this time of many unknowns. I just realized, like, I want to do that one day for other people because they impacted my life so much during that time. And so in high school, I had the opportunity to volunteer at some of my local hospitals, and that really reaffirmed for me that nursing is something that I want to go into. And so luckily, I was accepted into Hope's nursing program my freshman year, And it's just been amazing. And I'm so thankful for the Hope's nursing department because they truly want me to thrive both like in the classroom and in the clinical setting as much as they want me to thrive in the pool. And they're there to support me. And even our coaching staff too, like that's something that I'm so grateful for is because swimming is hard and being a nursing student is hard and just being a student athlete in general is really hard. But definitely thankful for Tabor and Jolly and for helping me navigate being the best person I can, both in the pool and in the classroom. So, yes.
Can you take me through an average day of a nursing student? I know I've talked to several student athletes, different sports who are doing this, and what you have to navigate through in order to meet the demands. I mean, both are very demanding. Sports is demanding on one hand, and then also studies are, no matter the major, but particularly one with nursing with clinicals and such. Just take me through an average day when, the semester is going on and like what time do you average have to get up to get your day moving?
Um, Typically I get up around Mondays. I would say I'm at practice at around 6, and we would have like I think pure bar from like 6 to 6:45, and then I would get in the water and then swim for around 2.5 hours to make sure I got the morning workout in and a mix of the afternoon workout.
Mhm.
And luckily, I had Alyssa Kirkman, who is also a fellow nursing student, with me and by my side as we both navigated training just a little bit differently than like a typical practice schedule for Mondays. Then I'd get out of the pool and I would go to the hospital for clinicals, whether it be in Holland or Grand Rapids, depending on the rotation. And I would be there from around 12:30 to around like 8 at night. And so then I'd come home, um, do some more homework or any more studying that I can. And then Tuesday morning, I'd wake up around 5 and make sure that I'm at the hospital by like 6:45, 7-ish. And then I would be at the hospital from around 6:45 until 2:30 in the afternoon, and then go to practice from 4 to 6, and then go home and do homework and make sure I'm keeping up on everything. And really, Monday and Tuesday are the most challenging days of the week because those are our clinical days. So the rest of the week is pretty normal, I would say, with just typical practice schedule and classes. But Monday and Tuesday are definitely the heavy days of the week.
Jake, with all your team members, kind of what their schedules are and what they're trying to accomplish. How has Delaney been able to handle everything in your mind? What makes her successful that she's doing well as a nursing student, then also as a swimmer for you?
Well, I think two things probably jump out more than anything else. One, her priorities are in check. She gets it, so to speak. But with that comes a tremendous time management skill set. And, I think when you combine time management and prioritization, you can accomplish quite a bit, and at the college level. And I would say nursing with, the clinicals and the rotations and, just the large chunks of time that need to be spent, at hospitals, some of which can be right in our backyard and some of which are down the road a little bit too, can wreak havoc on an athletic schedule. And, it's one of those things that we really feel like we've figured out and found a way to support and get creative, with, our nursing majors. And is it perfect? Probably not. Is it working for us? Yeah, absolutely. I think, because of those large chunks of times that are spent in the hospital with those rotations, you could certainly make the argument that pairing nursing and intercollegiate athletics is, maybe as hard of a combo as there is in terms of, an academic major with sport. And, Delaney's done it really well. And, I think she's probably fortunate to have people like Alyssa Kirkman that have gone through before her. But, when you look at the nursing majors on our roster that are underclassmen right now and, are coming up, it's really easy to point to Delaney and say, hey, this is how it's done and done really well. She continues to, find her name on the dean's list every semester, and she continues to, thrive and perform, athletically while also being involved in, some things around campus, and maintain great relationships with, with her peers. So, I think for me, it's like I said, it's prioritization and time management, and she does a fantastic job with both of those.
Delaney, what have you learned about time management? Was that something when you came to Hope that was a strength for you, or is that something that you've learned at that have been able to raise the level for that? Because that can be, I mean, that's the probably one of the keys to life is just figuring out how to manage to do everything you want to do it at the level you want. What have you learned about the keys to good time management?
For me, I would say I'm kind of old school in how I do my time management. My paper planner is like my best friend, and I rely on it so much, and it definitely keeps me in line, and like I hold myself accountable by making like my schedule, and I'm a big list person as well. That's something that Tabor can even talk about too. Whenever we have little meetings, I come in, I have my list, and he's like, "All right, what's on the list? Let's just get to it." And that's just kinda how I roll because I love crossing things off and just working off my list and using my planner, and that's something that, I did do in high school, but I would say when I got to the college level, it was definitely an adjustment in itself with different, class schedule that's different than what high school was, but also just a unique training, schedule as well. That was definitely new, and I had to learn how to navigate, my time and how I manage that. So
Well, and then not only when you were a freshman, you came to school in the middle of a pandemic that kind of had everything kind of whirled around. Take us through that. What did you learn from that experience to kind of maybe obviously we're on the opposite, kind of exiting the pandemic, so to speak. But what have you learned? What did that experience help you grow as a person?
it was definitely unique coming in the middle of a pandemic. It was unique coming into college and being an athlete, first of all. I didn't have access to a pool in the summer before coming here, and so I swam in the Saginaw Bay with a bunch of my best friends, and that's how I trained to come here. So it was super exciting when from a athletic perspective when I came here and I finally had lane lines and I had a wall and could work with an actual pool. And so that was a transition, but definitely it was one of those that was like, ah, this is nice. This is getting back to normal. But as far as coming in and wondering what my 4 years at Hope would look like, I will admit it was a little scary, a little nerve wracking. Um, but being a part of Hope Swim and Dive and coming in with Hope Swim and Dive definitely made the transition easier. I felt that once I got here, I immediately had 60 best friends that are people I could rely on and call and help me navigate this time. And my incoming class was very close because at the time we really only had each other because we all lived by each other in Collin Hall. And I would say the part that made this transition easiest was having those relationships and forming those relationships with my teammates because we, for example, got quarantined my freshman year and we all got sent home for 2 weeks, a big group of 15 of us. And we Zoomed every single night and had dinner together. And just those bonds and those moments really made a time of unknowns just it gave some peace and just knowing that I was creating relationships here, and that definitely helped me navigate coming into Hope during a pandemic.
Jake, obviously you have some freshmen coming in this year, and then there, next year there's always a group. What would you hope that people that are swimmers that are coming in and divers they could learn from Delaney, just her experience as a student athlete and as a role model?
Well, I think there's a few things. One, she said it earlier, the pool's our happy place. We want people that are, part of this family to love what they do. And, I think there's value in the right experience. So, making sure that, we're a part of this for the right reasons. I think when you extend that a little bit further, looking at, just that last question that you asked her, find the right group, find your people. The story about dinner together every night for 2 weeks over Zoom, was a great one, but also a testament to, I think the team dynamic and the relationships that, that Delaney's been able to build here at Hope and, specifically within our team. So, I would want to certainly encourage that as well. But, also make sure you know why you're here and that your priorities are exactly where they need to be. And, I think when you look at, I guess, the combination of those things, you can look right at Delaney and know that there's a great example of how to do these things and do them all really well.
Thank you.
Delaney,
That's so kind. Thank you.
Delaney, in addition to swimming and nursing, if that didn't fill your schedule up, you've done a lot of other things as well here on campus. And I wanted to touch on a few of them and see from you. I know, You're going on a sea trip to Zambia later this summer.
Yes.
You did a May term in Alaska, and you've been involved with Team 43. I guess first, talk about that's another challenge of being a student athlete. Is there's other opportunities that maybe schedule-wise might be a little easier of others. How do you find that balance of having the whole college experience and not just, two things that you can concentrate on, but be able to enjoy other things and being a normal college student and taking advantage of some educational opportunities that are outside the classroom?
So when I was in high school, I was very involved in things in my school and in my community, and that was something that I definitely wanted as I looked to where I was going to spend my next 4 years in college. And when I came to Hope, that was just something that definitely caught my eye was the fact that there are opportunities no matter what you're interested in or what you're doing, whether you're a student athlete or just a student or doing a hard major, like there are so many opportunities to get involved. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to be as part of as many things that I can here and throughout my time at Hope. And so it was a little hard at first coming into the pandemic and getting involved in things because life was not normal. It was just very different. But at the same time, I had to push myself to kind of get out of my comfort zone and put myself out there and try new things. And so a good example of that I would say was when I was a freshman, I wanted to be a part of dance marathon and I interviewed for a few committees and it didn't really work out. And shout out to my roommate Maggie because she had to listen to me go through so many little interviews throughout that time. But I was just persistent in knowing that I want to be involved in things and involved on campus and have these experience that I heard about when I was being recruited and looking at Hope and taking visits here. And so luckily it all worked out and I was able to be a part of hospital relations and a part of Dance Marathon. And that's just been a great organization to be a part of. But I would say I would just looking back and like looking at my time at Hope, I'm very thankful for the opportunities that have been presented and the Hope experience that I've been able to have, even coming in through a pandemic, and just really grateful for everything Hope has to offer.
Tell us about Team 43 and why that's something that's important to you.
Team 43 is something I'm very proud of. It is essentially a student athlete organization that talks about mental health and mental wellness and how to navigate being a student athlete and the struggles that may come with that. It all started at the end of my sophomore year. Mental health and mental wellness is something that's very important to me. And at the end of my sophomore year, I felt that there was a time where just in the news, I heard of many different student athletes around the country committing suicide. And, you heard about it at Stanford, you heard about it at Michigan. And I felt like we needed to have a conversation about it here at Hope. Like I would read these stories about who these people were and I would relate to them and be like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds like me. Oh my gosh, that sounds like people on my team." And yet just reminded me that we're all going through something and maybe struggling with things that people don't know about. And I realized that we should have a conversation about this. So I talked to Tabor about it and like, how can we get the ball rolling on having talks about mental health and mental wellness as a student athlete and the struggles that come with that. And luckily, he helped me connect with Courtney Cust over in athletics. And it was pretty special because at the same time, Ella McKinney was also having conversations very similar with her coach. And so Courtney connected Ella and I, and we were able to create Team 43 with her help and Coach V. And essentially, we would meet up like once or twice a month. And it's open to all student athletes to come in and join. We have Team 43 representatives that help us, plan these events and help people just spread the word about coming to events. But essentially, events would be having like an alumni come in and share their experience about their time at Hope and being a student athlete and their own mental health struggles and how they've learned wellness through that. And so creating conversation in a safe place where you can talk about mental health and your struggles as a student athlete and finding community within that. And that's just something I feel very proud to be a part of. And I'm very excited to see where Team 43 goes in this next year.
Jake, having that Team 43, what is that as a coach to see that as something that can be a resource for your student athletes? What has that meant to you to see that start and grow?
Well, I think first you look at, both the confidence and the passion for Delaney to reach out and kickstart that. I mean, that is, something I think on the coaching side of things that, unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of. I mean, mental health is a very, very real thing. And, there aren't sports or programs or coaches or student athletes that are immune to it. So, I think when we've looked at the way, Delaney and Ella, started chatting, and then, how fortunate are we that institutionally this was something that Hope immediately got behind, and we really just kind of see taken off and taken off very, very quickly. So and I think we're going to continue to build on that, and and create as many resources as we know how, in terms of if there's a student athlete that is struggling, just that awareness of, hey, this is here and this is in place. And, I think, to Delaney's point, you're not alone. And this is something that, that can be very relatable, at even at the most basic levels, and to anybody. And, I think we're grateful for, for that to be in place, and, for the initiative that these remarkable young women have taken, for us to be in the position that we are today.
And I should mention, not directly related to the Team 43, but in a similar vein, I know the swim teams and dive teams' involvement with the Be Better invite. I should mention that coming up September 29th, first meet of the season for the Flying Dutch and the Flying Dutchman. This year will be at the University of Michigan. Involves Hope and Calvin on Friday, September 9th at 5 p.m. And that's another, I encourage anyone to, and as I know Delaney and Jake would, learn more about Be Better and that initiative as well. So check that out and do that. And lastly, Delaney, we like to give our subjects an opportunity to give some thank yous. I know you've mentioned a few people in the course of this podcast, but I want to give you an opportunity. I know, probably starting with your parents, and then anybody else just that helped mentor you and help you grow to the woman you are today, and here at Hope, or whoever. What are some of the thank yous you'd like to give out as we close this podcast?
First off, starting with my family, I cannot thank them enough for all their support and their love. I'm from the east side of the state, Bay City, so I'm 2.5 hours away, and they've never missed a meet. They're always here, and so thankful for their love and support. And they balance my little brother Sean and I and our two schedules, and they're always there for us. And I cannot thank them for everything that they do for me. Also thanking Coach Tabor and Coach Jolly for all their support. I can't imagine what my time at Hope would have been without them. I'm just so thankful for the two of them and for their trust and love and support, and the fact that they pushed me to be a better person in and out of the pool. And I'm so thankful for that. So thank you. Definitely the nursing department here at Hope. They are just amazing. I'm so thankful for all my professors. And like I said before, they definitely want me to be the best I can be in the classroom and the clinical setting, but they also support me in the pool and navigating my schedule with missing class for meets. And I just am very thankful for the support that the nursing department has given me throughout my time at Hope. And lastly, I definitely need to thank my teammates. They are my people. They're my best friends. They make going to practice every day the best part of my day. Like, I look forward to my time in the water with them and hanging out with them. But especially my housemates and my roommates, they are the best. I can't thank them enough for dealing with me when I come home really late from the hospital and stay up late to study, and then get up in the morning with them at 5:30 and go to practice. Like, they're my people, and I am so thankful for their support and that I was able to meet them here at Hope.
Well, I will say as well, thank you to you, Delaney, for not only joining us today on the Orange and Blue podcast, but also being a shining light here on campus. Grateful for that. Thank you, Jake, for joining us today and talking a little bit about her, as well as our wonderful swim and dive program. And I want to thank everyone for listening today on the Orange and Blue podcast. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and share the word about the podcast. And we're going to have another episode in a couple weeks as we enjoy this summer. And pretty soon we're going to have student athletes back on campus, and life will feel normal again here on Hope College. So thanks, everyone, and go Hope.
Thank you.